This is giving me a flashback to when I was a younger man. Believe it or not, I was once younger than I am now.
If you think about a salad, the beautiful thing about a salad, I love saying this to people, the beautiful thing about being in a salad is simply this. What's the worst thing that's going to happen to you in this American salad? Well, your interaction may cause you to be lightly tossed, but you'll still be who you are. And we all in this salad have to recognize that, we don't have to be like that carrot or like that olive to relate to them. And yeah, you may get lightly tossed in that, but you're still going to be okay. You're going to still be who you are. And that's the piece of the skill set folks need to understand, that in this salad, we are going to be able to maintain who we believe we are, but just have the skill set to relate to people that are different in a positive way. And that's the beauty of for us having salad bowl skills, and we need them.
The reason I like your salad bowl analogy is that, there's a reason we put all those different things in a salad, because it enhances salad. The combination of those things maybe makes it taste better. So it relates to the topic we're talking about, because this is about recognizing our differences and using them to our advantage. To me, that's the basis of cultural competency.
Absolutely. And let's think of that, Steve. There's actually a company. I hope it don't matter that I'm going to say the company's name, but it's called SaladWorks. And you can go to SaladWorks, and SaladWorks has all these different types of salads. And there's a base in one salad that is spinach, a base in another salad that is romaine, a base in another salad and then you throw all this stuff on top of it. But it's still called SaladWorks. And I think the potential of being touched or lightly tossed, as you said, Dr. Sheffield, is a good thing, because in a way it gives the carrot and the tomato and the lettuce and all those and the olives, whatever you like, it gives them an opportunity, as you said, Steve, to enhance one another. I mean, who wants to just sit there and eat a bunch of olives? But if you throw some olives, right? You throw some olives in a bowl with those other ingredients, then it's like, oh, this tastes good. And you can taste all of those flavors. So at the risk of going off unhinged here, I just think that, like Steve said, it's a beautiful analogy for people who understand, yeah, I can have all of that in the same bowl, and I can enjoy all of that in the same bowl.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the tomatoes and the carrots and the cucumbers, they get to know each other.
Right.
That's what the workplace is. It's a salad bowl. Whether we realize it or not, every person, wherever you are, brings a different set of diversity to the relationship. This is giving me a flashback to when I was a younger man. Believe it or not, I was once younger than I am now.
We all sure.
So coming out of college, I got myself into some Peace Corps work, and before they sent us overseas, our particular group of diverse Americans, we were a mixed group of people for sure. We're going to travel to Africa. To spend the next few years of our lives working. But before we did anything toward the technical training of our jobs we would do, we went through what they called back then cultural sensitivity, because they said we were going to go through culture shock when we arrived. We're going to walk into a completely different kind of culture that we had ever experienced before. Looking back now, I think they had it right. That was going to be the major thing, was understanding, knowing that every day, every hour, you were going to have to take into consideration your cultural differences with other people just to get through the day, just to do your job. And that is not something that's a part of a normal educational curriculum in this country. And here we are, Dr. Sheffield, you said it already. We're a melting pot. We're not, we're not a one race, one, ethnic group country. We are, this is a place made up of people that came from all over the world to be here. But yet, we don't acknowledge that, primary part of our education ought to be, well, how do we deal with that?
Exactly. Oh, I don't think there's any question. One of our initiatives here in Western PA, particularly in Beaver County, has been to educate administrators that this generation of kids have got to come out of our education system with some degree of cultural competency. If we're going to have the workplace of the future that has high performance at its core, then we need to understand the competencies of high performance. They are not just in the hard skills that folks need for positions. They're not just in, if you're an engineer, well, you need math and science, blah, blah. It's not just that. It's that at the end of the day, it's about what kind of environment are we creating for people to work in? At the end of the day, hey, how well can we develop the ability to work together so as a team so that we're able to maximize our skill sets to perform well and ultimately produce better products? That's at the very essence of what we do. And sometimes that very important soft skills are missing. Not only are they missing, we don't tend to assess them either. That is, we ought to be measuring the ability of our folks to relate to each other in a positive way before we hire them. Because at the end of the day, if they don't know how to do that, it'll ultimately get them fired. So how do we begin to speak to how important this is within our educational system, both basic ed and higher ed, that folks need to know how to live, work, play, and learn together. And how do we create that kind of energy for the workplace? So yes, schools are at least a good starting point for kids K to 12 to recognize that cultural competency is not only important, but it's, as you know, it's also directly connected to the notion of do no harm. If you know how to relate to people in a positive way, you don't do harm to them by your thoughts, words, or actions. And those work in concert. So that's why I've been working on not just the cultural competency skill set, but the extension of that into an environment that says when you come in here, everybody's taught what it means to be culturally competent. And that does no harm.
Dr. Sheffield, as you're talking, I'm thinking about the way that our schools K through 12 facilitate mandatory testing. Mm-hmm. The basic testing that a child has to do, proficiency testing, right? And it's as we say, the read, write, and arithmetic kind of stuff.
Correct.
But one of the other things that we acknowledge is that oftentimes school environments can be very distracting. There's so much going on, and all three of us are young enough to remember when there were no cell phones in schools. We didn't have all of these distractions, social media. There was no such thing as that stuff when we were young. But it's created in an environment where distractions are never strategically managed in the way that you talk about cultural competency. Right. So we test to make sure that people can do a certain kind of math or read at a certain level or do this or do that, but we never test to see how well people get along.
Exactly. You just said a mouthful, and that's exactly right. And yet we know how important that is in sports. We know how important it is to reach the epitome of performance at a sports level. You can't just be physically able to move that lineman or to hit that dive or to make that basket. It's not just about that. It's about a whole team, and what kind of energy can you all create to drive the excellence of that school just based upon your relationships? How important is that? If you're going to pass the ball to the open person on the team so they can score, or you're going to open that hole for somebody, It's all about the team. And for some reason, we haven't understood that when it comes to our own educational system in total, when it's all right in front of us. So yeah, I like the notion of helping folks understand that we ought to be testing for and measuring how people relate to each other in a positive way. As a matter of fact, that's one of my biggest notions now as I look at our network for cultural competency. I want human resource folks to help shape their organization by measuring how well folks subscribe to cultural competency, by measuring what's happening. Because at the end of the day, you and I know that's an important piece. So yes, we need to think of ways that we can begin to measure it as a way of ensuring that it'll be an outcome of the K-12 system.